Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Saturday. It's the weekend. How you doing? I am Coach Ray. Thank you for joining me for today's stick mobility class. Appreciate it. So, for today's class, we are going to need access to 2 long sticks. So we are working on hip mobility. That is the theme of the month. And so, for today's class, besides the 2 sticks, I have effectively a Bulgarian split squat type of equipment. You can use a bench if you need to in order to get into the drill we're actually going to be using it for. I also have a slider. Now the slider is actually meant to work on a kind of a split type of position that we're going to use with the stick. So if you have a furniture slider, regular slider, or even a towel, that's going to be good to use. If you are not comfortable using that, I can actually show you a way to actually get into it without using any of it, like a slider or a towel or anything like that. Now, we're going to start with warming up the hips first. We're going to go with pelvic tilts. We're going to get in some foot and ankle drills. We're going to get into a lot of spine drills. Then we're going to get into the fun stuff of the hip drills. So some of the stuff we're going to do standing, some of the stuff we're not going to do standing. So we're going to start off with 1 stick here. And I'm going to take a wide stance, wider than shoulder width, quite a bit wider here. So the wider you are for the pelvic tilts, typically the more challenging it is to move the hips. So I'm going to go with a slight toe out angle, and I want to make sure my entire foot is in the floor. The toes are nice and active, so driving my toes down into the floor here. I have the stick lined up with my center line, hands are about chest height. From this position here, I'm going to drive the stick down about 20% tension, so you should feel some core activation. And I'm going to go into a posterior tilt. So I'm going to tuck my pelvis in, squeeze my glutes, drive my knees apart. So I'm going to turn to the side here. So if you turn to the side, I want to tuck my pelvis in like so. Then I'm going to go into an anterior tilt. And I want to try to create as much of a curve in that lumbar spine as I can. Feel those lumbar tissues get nice and active. Posterior tilt. Driving the stick down 20% the entire time. Anterior tilt. Posterior tilt. Squeeze those glutes. Anterior tilt. Posterior tilt. Good, and anterior tilt. Good. Ease off. We're going to go back to that posterior tilt position. Feet are still wide, so let's get into that posterior tilt. Now from here, I'm gonna bump my right hip up. So I want that right hip to come up and left hip to drop down. And then I'm gonna go left hip bump. That left glute should be firing. Right hip, left hip, right hip, left hip, right hip, left hip. Excellent, and back to center. Hold this position. Now we're going to get into the foot and ankle drills. So from here, nice good tall position. I'm going to bring both heels up, nice and high. I'm going to slowly bring them down, nice and easy. Once they touch the floor, heels back up again. Torso level should not change. Torso stays the same. Down. Back up. Good. All 5 toes in contact with the floor here, folks. Back down. Let's go 2 more. Up. Quads are probably going to be burning a little bit. Back down. One more time. Up. Excellent. And back down. Ease off. Excellent. We're going to take the second stick here. We're going to go to the floor. If you have a pad to kneel on, probably going to be a good time to grab it. Now this is an extension drill. You can use a corner of a wall if you'd like, if you feel more comfortable doing that. But from here, I'm going to start in a tall kneeling position, and I got to have both of my feet dorsiflexed. We're going to be sinking back onto our heels. This is mainly for working on that thoracic extension. So I have the bottom of the sticks roughly about a foot or so, a little bit more, in front of the line of my hips here. My hands are going to be relatively high, so I want my hands to be roughly about forehead height, maybe a slight bit higher. So arms remain straight, so elbows in extension. And what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to lightly push the sticks into the floor about roughly 20%. And then I'm going to sink my torso down towards the floor. So you're going to get a nice good stretch in that T-spine and mid-back. Now from here, I'm going to further increase that demand on the spine by sinking my hips back on my heels. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to rock back into it again. 2, up, sit back, 3, sit back, 4, sit back, 5, let's go 3 more, 6, 7, one more time, 8, excellent, come back nice and tall, ease off. And now, still being in that kneeling position, I'm gonna go with my right knee down, left leg is forward. Now, how far forward this left leg is gonna kind of depend on you. The main thing we're focusing on here is keeping the hips into an extended position. So we're gonna get into stretching out the hip flexor, get a little bit into that sling line, but we're adding in rotation. So we're always rotating towards that front leg. So if my left leg is forward, I'm rotating to my left. So the right stick's gonna be in center line here. The left stick, the bottom of the left stick is going to be roughly in line with my hips. Now from here, my left hand's up roughly about forehead height, and my back foot is plantar flex. So I'm gonna drive that back foot into the floor, do a posterior pelvic tilt, squeeze my glute, and shift my hips forward a bit. Now from here, I wanna drive this right stick forward and open up to my left, come back forward, let's go a couple more, open that left hand up, back forward, let's go one more time, open that left hand up, breathe, be nice and tall, back forward, and ease off. Gonna switch sides, so now right leg is forward here. Left stick's at 12 o'clock. Bottom of the right stick's lined up with the hips here. Right hand up. So drive that back foot down, tuck the pelvis, squeeze that glute, shift those hips forward. If your hips are feeling pretty tight, this is gonna feel good here. So rotate to the right, and adjust your hands as you need to. Back forward, open up to the right, good, back forward, let's go one more time, open up to the right, excellent, come back forward, and ease off, excellent. We're gonna go to a standing position. Now we're gonna get into a split stance. So left leg's gonna be forward, right leg is back. We're gonna be working on rotations again, but now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in activating the lateral glute as we're in it. So sticks in my left hand, left leg is forward, right heel is up nice and high. I want the stick to come on the outside of my front leg. So outside of my left leg, I want the bottom of the stick on the outside of my right foot or back foot here. And what I'm going to do from this position is I'm going to load that front leg. So I'm going to shift my weight forward a little bit. Not a lot, just a bit. And I want to actively drive that left leg into the stick. So I'm going to abduct that hip. Left glute should be firing a bit. I'm going to reach across with my right hand, and I'm going to pull back into a tall position, right? So we don't want to end up being in this position here. Pull to your right back here, nice and tall. Now from this position, I'm going to pull with my right arm, let go of my left, and rotate back. We're going to treat this as repetitions. So come back forward. That's 1. Open up. 2. Open up. 3. Open up. 4. Open up. 5. Make sure you're driving that left leg into the stick. 6. 2 more. 7. 1 more time. 8. Back forward. Ease off. And now we're going to switch sides. So I'll turn it to the side here. Right leg is forward. Left leg is back. Stick comes on the outside of that right leg. Bottom of the stick's on the outside of that left foot. Your split doesn't need to be super big. It's going to depend on you. So load that front leg, right, just a bit. I want to drive that right leg into the stick. The right glute should be firing. Grab with the left hand and extend back. So from here, let go with the right. Open up. 1. 2. Make sure you're pulling across with that left arm. 3. 4. Let's go 4 more. 5. 3 more. 6. 7. 1 more time. 8. And ease off. Excellent. Good. We're going to grab the second stick here. Going to work with a little bit of internal, external rotation. So, tall position. Don't let this start to happen, right? So you want to make sure that you're driving whatever leg is down. Drive that foot into the floor nice and hard because you want that leg to be nice and straight here. So feet together. How far apart the sticks are depends on your mobility. So if you're somebody that's super mobile, you can start out wide, or if you're somebody that needs to start off a little bit more narrow, maybe you're not as mobile, you can start narrow and then move out accordingly from there. So I'm going to have both hands roughly about shoulder height. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift to my left just a little bit because I'm going to start on my right foot or right leg. I want my foot to be directly in the center of the sticks, not off to the side. So now from here, drive both sticks down, shoulders down towards the back hip, going at about 40% activation. I'm going to bring my right knee forward just a bit, and I'm going to externally rotate, push against the stick at about 30%, and then I'm going to internally rotate, keeping that knee low but in the center, 30%, back to center here, come up a bit, externally rotate, internally rotate, back to center, come up higher, externally rotate, good, internally rotate, back to center, and bring that hip back down, ease off. We're gonna switch sides, so I'm gonna kind of come over to my right a little bit. Same thing, drive both sticks down, bring that left leg forward a bit, externally rotate, good, internally rotate. To center, come up a bit, externally rotate, internally rotate, push, back to center, come up higher, externally rotate, and internally rotate. Back to center, down, nice and easy. Now, we're gonna go with stick taps. I'm gonna turn to the side a bit here. We're gonna start on that right hip. So left stick is gonna be across the center line. So think about where your 12 o'clock position is. You kinda wanna go to 11 o'clock here. Right stick is gonna be at 9 o'clock. So what we're doing here is we're tapping each stick as we go along. So we're getting both the adductor and abductor line active here. So the right stick is out at 9 o'clock. You can see how far it is. You can always adjust the sticks as you need to. Hands are at shoulder height. So from this position, I want to drive both sticks down. I'm going to hover my right foot off the floor, and I want to keep that ankle dorsiflexed. I'm going to bring my right foot forward, and I'm going to bring it across my body to touch the left stick, and I want to push only for 1 second, and then I'm going to bring that right foot out to the right stick, push, good, and then bring it across again, push, excellent. I'm going to go back and forth here. You're only pushing for 1 second. It's 2, 3, push, good, push, 4, push, push, that's 5, back to center, ease off. Just warming up here still. So I'll turn to the side, left stick's at 9, right stick's at about 1 o'clock. Same thing, drive both sticks down. Gonna hover that left foot, bring it forward, bring it across. Good, bring it to the left stick. It's 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. Back to center and ease off. It's good. We're going to place 1 stick down. We're going to get into a single leg RDL type of drill. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to be using the sticks to create some tension into the floor, particularly working with internal rotation on whatever leg we're doing. And so I'm going to step back here. The stick is going to go out to my right, so I'm going to grip the left end of the stick here. Now we're going to be doing it on that left foot. Now what I mean by internal rotation, or at least for this is very similar to a hip airplane, but what we're going to be doing position-wise, we're not going to be in that much of a hinge, but we want to drop this right hip going in as much as we can, and then use the stick to create a little bit more tension, which is going to get a nice stretch on that left glute, or the outside of that left glute. But we're adding a little bit of activation here. So my hands are at roughly about shoulder height. My left foot, I need it to be grounded, so I'm going to drive my toes into the floor, push down, nice good arch, and I'm going to hover my right foot. I'm going to go into a little bit of a hinge. Again, not much, right? Now from this position here, I'm going to rotate the stick, the end of the stick down, and I'm already driving this right hip down and in. Now I'm going to create tension by pushing my right hand down and pulling up with my left. So getting some rotation. Breathe, only about 30%. 3, 2, 1, gonna ease off, nice and slow. Try to keep your balance, and then come up. Excellent. We're gonna do that again. So grip the stick, drive those toes down, hover the right foot, hinge, try to lose balance like me, rotate to the left, place it down, good. Now create tension on the stick. Breathe, ease off, Find that balance. Excellent. Come back up. Ease off. We're going to go again. You're going to feel that foot, ankle, lower leg muscles working, but that left hip should be really active here. Hover the left foot, or right foot, sorry. We're going to hinge. Last one here, folks. Rotate to the left, create tension on the stick. Try to really drop that right hip in. Excellent. Ease off. Come back to center. And up. Ease off. Good. Now we're going to switch sides. So I'm actually going to kind of turn to the side here. So right foot's going to be down. Same thing. Make sure you're pushing your toes down into the floor to create a really, really good position here. So drive those toes down. Left foot hovers. Gonna hinge. Swipe into the knee. Rotate to the right. Create tension on the stick. Excellent. Slowly ease off that tension. Come back to center. Then up. Ease off. We got two more. Hover the left foot. Drive those toes down. Hinge. Rotate to the right. Push. Drive the end of the stick into the floor here, folks. 3, 2, 1. Ease off. Back to center. Come up. Solid. Excellent. One last time. Drive those toes down. Hover. Get into a hinge. Rotate the left end down. Create tension. 3, 2, 1. Ease off. Come back. Back up. And ease off. Ooh, a little challenging for me today, actually. All right, now we're going to go to the floor. We're going to use both sticks here. So we're going to be working on hip flexion. So in this bottom position, the most challenging aspect is going to be keeping an upright position or effectively not leaning back. So we're going to be in a position as if we're doing a adductor stretch. Now, like I mentioned, we're going to be working on hip flexion here. And so we'll actually go a couple of reps without the sticks, just so you can kind of get used to the position. What we're going to do is we're going to use our hands being behind our glutes. And you can use your fist, like my fists are in the ground, or you can go with your hands on the floor to bring yourself upright. Now from here, driving yourself upright by extending those hands out or extending your elbows. Now from this position here, I'm going to point my left foot and I'm going to lift. Hover that left foot off the floor. Now as you do that, you're going to get that rec fem to fire. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go for 3 repetitions. We're not going to hold at the end of the range. It's just hovering it off the floor. So hover. 1. Good. Hover. 2. One more time. Hover. 3. Excellent. We'll switch sides. 1. 2. 3. Excellent. Ease off. If you're cramping, don't be afraid to come out, because I was just starting to cramp. So we're going to grab both sticks. And if you have shorter sticks, you can go with shorter sticks. But I'm going to have the bottom of the sticks angled in towards me. This allows me to go with that natural arm drive, but it also puts me in a position where I can actually kind of shift forward just a tiny bit as I work with driving the sticks down. Now the amount of tension we're going to have to create is going to be about roughly 60 to 70% tension. We want to try to get those tissues as tight as we possibly can. So from here, ankle sticks are angled in, hands are roughly about shoulder height. Drive the sticks down. Hover that left. So 1. Go again. 2. One more time. And 3. Now we're going to go right. 1. 2. One more time. And 3. Ease off. Excellent. Take a second. Grab it a little bit. It's been a while since I've done this, not going to lie to you. All right, we're going to go one more time. So more likely, again, probably going to be cramping the quad, that rec fem, hip flexor area. That can be kind of normal sometimes. But the main objective here is, again, is hovering and getting all those tissues active. Last one. Drive those sticks down. Hover the left. 1. 2. 3. Other side. 1. 2. 3. Excellent. Ease off and take a second. Now we're going to go to a standing position and effectively work on those same tissues. So we're going to go into hip flexion into knee extension. So the same muscles we were just working, we're going to do that same thing. The main objective with this is where a lot of people don't necessarily, where some people kind of lose a connection, is keeping your down leg straight. You want to make sure that that leg that's down, you're driving that foot into the floor, keeping that knee in extension. So we're going to go feet together. Bottom of the sticks are angled in towards my toes. In fact, you basically want the bottoms of the sticks to be in line with your toes. So hands are roughly about shoulder height. Stay up nice and tall. I'm going to drive the sticks down at 60%. I'm going to start with my left leg first. I'm going to bring that left knee up. If you can get to hip height, that's fine. If you can get higher, that's fine. The objective here, don't let the height of that knee change. So from here, extend. Make sure the ankle's dorsiflexed. 3, 2, 1, back in, down, ease off. Good. We're going to go 2 more. So notice it's a little bit of a hold. Now we're actually holding this position. Drop both sticks down. Left knee up. Make sure you're driving that right knee or right foot into the floor. Right knee straight. Extend. 3, 2, 1. Back in and down. Ease off. We're going to go one more time. Your right glute should be working to keep that hip in extension. Drive down. Good. Left knee up. Extend. 3, 2, 1. Back in. Down. Ease off. Now we're going to switch sides. Arms straight. Drop both sticks down. Right knee up. Extend. 3, 2, 1. And down. Ease off. Good. We got 2 more. Drop both sticks down. Right knee up. Extend. 3, 2, 1. Back in. Down. Ease off. We got 1 more here, folks. Drop both sticks down. Right knee up. Extend. Drive that foot to the floor. 3, 2, 1. Back in. And ease off. Excellent. Good. Now we're going to go to the floor. Now we're going to get into dead bugs. it's really important that we know how to connect our core, pelvic floor, to working on strengthening the hips overall. It's oftentimes kind of forgotten about. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a fun dead bug series. Now, we're going to start off in just a regular dead bug, and we're going to extend each leg out one at a time, 3 repetitions per side. After that, we're going to work on internal, external rotation out of the dead bug position. So it's going to get really interesting here. So I'm going to grip the stick out relatively wide. I want the stick to be right over my hips. Okay, so I don't want it down like this, and I don't want it at belly button height either. I want it right over my hips. I'm going to bring both knees up, and I'm going to compress. I'm going to create compressive force, driving down with my hands and driving upwards with my knees. So push, 40%. I'm going to extend my right leg straight out. Back in, nice and slow. Drive that right knee up. Extend the left leg out. In. Right leg out. In. Left leg out. In. One more time each way. Right leg out. Back in. Left leg out. In. Is off. Excellent. So, of course, we're burning a little bit. Now, in this position, or what we're going to do to change, working on that rotation, is there's going to be one leg down, the other leg's going to be up, and we're going to be internally and externally rotating that hip as it's driving up into the stick. So not only we're creating that hip flexion, but we're working on those other tissues that are involved with internally, externally rotating that hip. So your range of motion is probably going to be a little bit smaller than it usually is. That's okay. That's actually kind of normal for this kind of movement. So from here, so get set up in that same position. I'm going to have my right leg down. I'm going to have my left leg up. And again, we're creating that compressive force. Keep it at about 40 to 50%. We're going to do 3 rotations, internal and external. So from here, create compressive force, legs at 90 degrees, externally rotate, and then internally rotate. External, internal, external, and internal. Back to center, is off. Let's switch sides. So it's also a good way for you to pay attention to what hip feels differently than the other in terms of external and internal rotation. So right knee up, compress, knee at 90 degrees, externally rotate, internal, external, internal rotation, external, and internal. Back to center, ease off. Excellent. Good. Now, let's go ahead and get into the deep fascial stretching. So this is where having a slider, couch slider, or towel comes into play. If you do not have one, that is totally okay. You don't need one for this. This is just a little bit of added extra equipment. Now, I'm going to have my left knee down. My right heel is going to be on the slider. Now, if you don't have a slider or a towel, I'll move this to the side first and I'll actually show this. What you can do, so I'm going to have the sticks relatively far forward, and I'm going to extend that left right heel out. And what I can do from this position here is I can kind of drive my right heel into the floor. And what I'm going to go for here is getting a little bit of a hip flexor stretch on this back leg, right? So we need to squeeze this glute, keep it nice and tight, but also get a little bit of a hamstring stretch on that front leg. So if you're comfortable going with this position here, you can just kind of wiggle your foot out a little further. If you want a bit more of a stretch, you absolutely can. But you want to be on a surface where you can actually kind of slide around. Now, I'm going to have my right heel on the slider here. My hands are going to be relatively high. I'm going to go a little bit higher than forehead height. And I want to keep my right foot dorsiflexed. Now from here, I'm going to slide the slider out, squeezing my left glute, and I'm only going to go until I get a stretch that's tolerable. It should not be a 10 out of 10. It should be at about a 6 or 7 out of 10. You want to breathe here. This is going to feel like a pretty big stretch. Excellent. I'm going to drive the 6 into the floor and assist myself back. Now we're going to switch sides. So I'm going to bring my right knee down, left heel on the slider. We're going to do that same thing again. So hands are up, left ankle's dorsiflexed, and I'm going to squeeze my right glute. I'm only going to slide out till it's tolerable. Breathe. Three, 2, 1. Slowly come back in. Ease off. We're going to do that again. We're going to switch sides. We're not going to be holding it for that long, just because again it's a little bit of a stretch here. So heel on, ankle is dorsiflexed. Sorry, a little sweaty here. I'm going to slide that right foot out as far as I comfortably can. If you can get a little further on this next round, it's good. Breathe. Make sure you're squeezing that left glute. 3, 2, 1. Pull back in. Excellent. Switch sides. Left foot out. Remember, it's just the heel on the slider here. So squeeze that right glute, slide out. And try not to allow your hips to rotate out. You want to keep your hips forward. Breathe. 3, 2, 1. Back in. Excellent. Ease off. Gonna kick the slider over. This is where having a bench, or if you have a Bulgarian split squat machine like this, it'd be great to actually have. And so we're gonna go with the couch stretch. This is effectively just a couch stretch, so you can use whatever you have available to you. Now, I'm going to start with my right hip or right leg, stretching that side. So I'm going to have my right foot on, and I'm going to drop that right knee down. Now remember with this, how close your glutes are to your foot is what's going to dictate how much of a stretch you get after you do a posterior pelvic tilt. So it might just be that being in this position here and then just doing a posterior pelvic tilt is more than enough of a stretch. And since we just did a lot of work on those anterior tissues, it's probably going to feel like a stretch. So the bottom of the sticks are in line with the heel of my front foot. Hands are up high, and I'm going to do a posterior tilt from here. I'm going to hold that position. So for me, this is enough of a stretch. And again, it's not a 10 out of 10. It's about a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It should be very tolerable, but not super easy. Hold. Make sure you're breathing here. We're not driving that back foot down either. Just relaxing that back foot for now. Ease off. Assist yourself up. We're going to switch sides. So now left ease down. Get into that same position. Posterior tilt. Hold. Breathe. Deep breaths, folks. Deep breaths. Good. We're going to ease off. We're going to switch back over to the other side. Now we're going to add in a little bit of activation. So right foot's going to go on. Drop that back knee down. This is where we now lightly push that back foot down towards the floor. So about 20%. Now add that posterior tilt in. You're going to get an even bigger stretch. So again, adjust your positioning as you need to. Breathe. If you find that your breathing becomes really sporadic and very short, you're probably too deep into the stretch. Ease off. Assist yourself up. Switch sides again. Left leg down. Same thing. Drive that back foot down towards the floor. Posterior tilt. Breathe. Good. 3, 2, 1, and ease off. Assist yourself back up. Now really quick, just want to stretch those hamstrings. So now we're going to get into a standing straddle stretch, or, well, a straddle stretch is not on the floor. So you're going to get your feet out as wide as you comfortably can. Now you want to keep your toes pointed forward to the best of your ability. Yes, you can go slightly toe out angle, but for this, it's better if you try to get as much of a toe forward position as you can comfortably manage. Now the sticks are on my shoulders here. Bottoms of the sticks are angled out relatively far in front. We're going to use the sticks as a guide. And so from this position here, I want to keep those knees extended, so legs locked out, not extended super hard. And then I'm going to start to guide myself going down the sticks towards the bottom and also driving my hips back at the same time. Want to go until you get a nice good stretch in those hamstrings. You're also going to get those adductors a little bit as well. Good. I'm going to shift my hips forward. Going to ease off that stretch. Then we're going to go to it one more time. So drive those hips back. Keep those legs extended, knees extended out. Breathe. Nice and easy. Excellent. Shift your hips forward. Walk your hands up the stick so you're in an upright position. And then wiggle those feet in. Nice and slow. And good. That concludes today's stick mobility class. Thank you everybody for joining me. Hope everybody had a good class today. Again, just wanted to keep it all hip focused, but I will be sure to catch you all next weekend. As usual, stay safe. Have a good one.